Hey everyone, this is Gary Kay, and I want to welcome you to our first ever launch event. First, I want to thank the team here at the rAVe agency for rushing this and getting this out a little earlier than we originally planned. This is Gary Kay. I'm the co-founder of the rAVe agency. You may know me from rAVe shirts and our rAVe team at the various trade shows around the industry. We originally intended to launch this product in the fall. Our partner with this is Zoom, as you probably know by now, and we both planned to launch this in the fall. We pushed it up and rolled it in quicker because of everybody just kind of hanging out at home as an opportunity to deliver some really awesome AVIXA CTS certified RU education. And of course, we will be covering this through our publication. Our sister, rAVe agency owns rAVe Pubs, and we'll be covering this live. We actually have a rAVe agent. We actually have a launch week microsite, just like we do with any trade show kind of thing or any conference that we cover. You can go to ravepubs.com/launch week. Make sure you spell the U with a V, LAVNCH week. So ravepubs.com/launch week. That's where you can see all the product information and all the new products that are being launched here. The keynotes and the tech sessions will be released later, but right now you're the only ones that get to see this. You're seeing it live, and you are actually seeing the first public application of our platform called LAVNCH. We're just the first of many users of it. This is a one week long event, with the first day being ProAV Day today, second day being Digital Signage Day tomorrow. Then Wednesday we have UCC Day. Thursday we have HAL Day, House of Worship. Friday, we have our end user day. There'll be a lot of manufacturers in the industry that are using the LAVNCH platform to do their own individual launch days over the course of the next few months. We already have a couple of dozen signed up. And we'll be doing our second launch week the week after InfoComm Connect, which is this awesome thing that AVIXA is going to put on in the middle of June. And our launch week number 2 will be the 22nd of June. We had no idea how successful this would be. Of course, we were nervous about it, just like anybody would be of any new offering, but we have over 8,500 registrations for the week. Of course, end user day is exclusive to end users. So it's not available to integrators or manufacturers. That's exclusively for end users. Now, if you've logged into the platform, which obviously you have, if you're watching this, you'll probably notice a couple of things. Number one, you'll notice what we have there is called a chat sticky. It stays on the screen until you either X out and close it. And if you do, it'll go to the bottom left of your screen, or if you decide to use it. So for example, if you decide to chat with one of the manufacturer sponsors, or even send a question to any of the presenters all day long, you can use the chat window to do that. You could go ahead and fill out your email address to verify you are who you are. And we can actually, that will allow you to participate on chat that you actually were registered. Another cool thing that we are doing is polling. This polling is real time. So as we hear interesting things that manufacturers or any of our presenters have to say, we'll be sending you poll questions. And also, this is another way that you can participate in the CTS RUs, because this will verify that you're actually participating and you're actually here live, because you do get up to 5 CTS RUs for each day that you are on. We have 5 CTS RUs. So you need to participate in the polls. And as an added incentive to make sure that you're participating in the polling, we're going to give away a $500 Amazon gift card to one random user who participates in all the polling each day. So each day we'll give away a $500 Amazon gift card. And you'll see poll questions like ask you to comment on whether you agree with what a speaker may have said, or how you might use some of the ideas one of our speakers or our panelists proposes. And you may even be asked your opinion on products and technology, specifically more technology. The product feature videos, as you scroll down the page, you're right now looking at the live streaming window. As you scroll down the page below the agenda and the pictures of our awesome speakers today, and I'm getting ready to introduce our first in just a moment, you will see a product feature videos. Those are our sponsors for the day. Our sponsors include Kramer, who is our headline sponsor for the day, Barco, HuddleCam HD, and Peerless AV. They each have videos of new products and new technology that they're launching this week. Further down the bottom, you'll see all the product videos that were submitted for today. Each day has its own product videos. Just like we do at a trade show, we categorize the product videos based on type. So at the bottom of this page are just commercial AV product videos. Tomorrow's videos, for example, will be just digital signage videos. And then, of course, we're covering this all over social. So participate. We're going to announce the winner of the Amazon gift card each day. But right now, I want to bring on Dave Labuskes because he's the reason why you're all here, not just to sit here and look at me and stare at me. Dave Labuskes is the CEO of AVIXA. And AVIXA, as you know, puts on Infocom, but also is a partner at ISE, and they have all sorts of Infocom shows around the world. But more importantly, they are the drivers of the education and certification in the commercial AV industry. Dave leads the association's mission to be a catalyst of growth for the audiovisual industry and a hub for the AV community, ProAV community. Before joining AVIXA in 2012, he spent nearly 14 years at RTKL Associates, where he established the firm's first technology design practice and worked with a growing team of professionals to build one of the most respected technology design practices in the world. More importantly, Dave's a friend of mine. Number one, Dave, first off, thanks for being here. And number two, phenomenal job leading the team at AVIXA and all that y'all are doing. And I welcome you to the very first launch week. And I'm going to turn it over to you because you have some really cool and important things to say to our attendees.
Thanks, Gary. And thanks for having me. I'm going to start today, maybe in a slightly unconventional way. Normally, you wouldn't start a keynote for an industry meeting with a little bit of discussion about feelings. But I feel like these are unconventional times, and it makes sense to do that a little bit. You know, it's just so emotional for all of us. I don't know about you, but there have been moments for me and the people in my life in these past few months when we've had so many different decisions that have had to be made all at once, so many factors demanding consideration, so many voices wanting to be heard. And we've seen pain and we've seen loss. And at the same time, we've got this tidal wave of news and predictions and conflicts and blame and resolve and heroism. And maybe you feel like you've just got it handled, and then suddenly out of the blue there's some crazy blast. It's like for a moment I'm overcome by emotion. I'll lose track of what I was talking about or thinking about. And it's not from any obvious distraction, though we certainly are all probably managing all kinds of distractions working in a home that's full of family and pets. It just happens. And I know there's a ton of people participating today that are faced with these amazing challenges, either in their business or their family. And tragically, some of them are facing the most serious of challenges around the health of themselves or someone they know and love. And I think we're all looking at this simultaneously with an eye to the ground so we don't trip on this completely new path. But at the same time, we have this eye on the horizon, hoping to see through the fog into what the world will be like in just a few months or years. So I wanted to talk about this type of experience because I want to own it. And I also want to let everyone around me know that it's okay to have those too. And I want to share at least some of how I get through. I know it sounds cliche at this point, but I do. I'll pause, I'll take a breath, and then I start to focus myself around what do I know for sure? What are basic truths that no matter what's happening in the world are not going to change? And the first one that I fall to when I think like that is that people need each other. And I see this affirmed by how we've come together as an industry. There are stories about this all around the planet. And I spent some time over the last couple of weeks talking to a few of my friends in the industry. And I just want to take some time this morning sharing those stories. So one of the first conversations I had was with Penny Sittler at Draper. I don't know if you know this or not, but Draper is a fifth generation family owned business. They also happen to be the largest employer or largest private sector employer in their county. And those employees looked around as this crisis unfolded, and they saw a need, just like most of us, in the nonprofit hospitals that serve the rest of that county. So a woman that Penny knows, actually has known since high school and works at Draper, started making masks. Now, think about it. That might be obvious, but let's also think about the fact most projection screens aren't sewn anymore. Their seams are heat fused. But just like the typewriter at AVIXA headquarters, there's still machines there in the factory, and many of them are in storage. And as she started making the masks, the idea caught on. A few guys from the maintenance crew broke out the machines that were left in storage, and more employees started making masks. And then they started handing them out, first to other employees for themselves, for their families, then to healthcare workers at the hospitals to use for the patients. And since then, they've now supported 3 hospitals. They've supported 2 EMS first responder teams. They've supplied a hospice in the area. And while they were going through storage, they found 1,295 masks that they were able to donate as well. And not only has it been incredibly beneficial for the community, it's been an effort that's created hope and brought light into the Draper team as well. And it started because one employee, one person saw that others were in need. And people need each other. I also spent some time on the phone with, quote unquote phone, dating myself, with Steve Durkee at LAVNCH. And again, I heard a story not about management issuing decrees or about marketing looking for an opportunity. I heard stories about people seeing a need and organically tapping in their community to meet that need. So I don't know if you know, but they have a drapery manufacturing side of the business that supports the live events side of the industry. And that demand sadly has diminished tragically. And they turned all of their production over to making masks. And they've made over 40,000 masks for the Indiana healthcare system workers. In Europe, their team installed a video conferencing system into a senior housing facility so the residents could stay in touch with loved ones that they were isolated from. One salesperson loaded gear up into his car and drove it around to different Kroger stores in the region so they could better communicate with the community and they could more safely manage the public access to food. And there's countless employees of LAVNCH that are using the company's resources to bring their churches into the virtual world. I know I've experienced this myself. Our priests are now broadcasting mass via Cisco WebEx platform that I'm sure they had no idea even existed 2 months ago. And now every day there's an opportunity to connect with them and to connect across that platform with everybody that's in that community. I spent time with Sam Taylor at Elmo and learned about how they partnered using their logistics and shipping infrastructure to help Bloom Technologies get newly furbished ventilators to the hospitals around the country to save lives. And then I talked to also Brandy Alvarado at Mad Systems. They've invented a completely new ventilator that could save lives. And it was born also out of this innovation of AV creators. They saw a need and they connected that need. See, one of their founders, Maris, is a scuba diver on the side, and Trisha, his wife and co-founder, creates art when she's not running the business. And they have a team of mechanical engineers, medical equipment engineers, robotics experts. And in the past, that whole team has come together to create immersive experiences at amusement parks and in museums. But in this in this time, that same team came together and put together all of those pieces into a completely new way to provide ventilation for patients that need it. And they've got a 3D printer that they sent to Joe Way over at USC to save lives as well. Uh, It was a great period of time having these conversations. They were so uplifting and so fulfilling and reminding me of the fact that people need each other. There's more. If you search Twitter hashtag AV Good, If you read Steph Beckett's piece that was on rAVe, you could see more of these stories. And what's amazing about humanity is that there's more stories with each week that passes. So first, my first basic truth, people need each other. There's another one that I fall into and think about, and my kids get sick of hearing me say, which is nothing comes free in life. So sometimes we hear this in the form of there's no such thing as a free lunch. And I think that points to this negative connotation about nothing comes for free. It talks about people having ulterior motives. They offer you something, but in reality, they want something back in return. And again, in these times of crisis, I think we're seeing the kind of generosity, the kind of giving from our community that is just truly giving. It's truly sharing out of a sense of gratitude. And hopefully that will continue for a while. And I talk to the people in the industry. They're working as hard as they can to save their teams, to save their companies, but they also are focused in on how do I be a better partner for my dealers or my customers? How do I better serve for the future today? When I think about nothing comes for free, what I typically am focused in on is that if we want something, we need to work to get that something. And if we don't work for it, then we won't value it even if we do get it, or we just simply won't ever actually get it. So I made a weird connection with this when I started thinking about climate change and the choices that we as a society have to make. It was just Earth Day last week, and it was unlike any Earth Day that's ever been celebrated before. You're seeing and hearing examples all around the world about how this quarantine, how this stay in place that was put there to save lives might actually be dramatically contributing to saving our planet's life. The skies are bluer over cities that people can't ever even remember seeing the sky over. There's wild animals coming into the city. There's jellyfish swimming in Venice's canals. There's mountains being seen from continents away. Megan Dutta recently wrote about some of the AV manufacturers and what they're doing to impact this, not just now, but in all of the times. She highlighted Meyer Sound, who's on a pathway to reduce their energy consumption by 15%, achieve zero waste. She highlighted Christie, who uses heat recycling from their manufacturing process to heat their plant. And they've reduced their natural gas consumption by 40%, their water use by 25%, and they have a recycle rate on average of 82%. And there was a story about Bose with their 1.7 megawatt solar array on their campus that provides most of the power that they need in order to operate. So, two truths. People need each other and nothing life is free. Didn't really just want to talk about that as an opportunity for me to, basically step on a pedestal and share those thoughts. I think that they have a very direct point for our industry today. Let's talk about people needing each other. Our industry is at the center of connecting those people to each other. It's what we do for a living. We're at the center of connections that we've experiencing today in our homes and experienced yesterday in our offices. And they are all enabled by our industry, the manufacturers, the distributors, the consultants, the integrators, and the technology managers. We're at the center of the connections we're experiencing today in our homes with our churches, where yesterday they were enabled by AV in the building, and tomorrow they will only be more deeply valued, connected across both spaces. The connections we experienced in stadiums and stores and restaurants were only and always enabled by AV yesterday, and they will be yet again tomorrow. They will be extended beyond the reach of those physical spaces, and that extension will be at the hands of our industry. And we must be at the center of connections that need to be strengthened and respected within our industry, within the professionals that serve our industry from all backgrounds, races, and sexes. Now, as we so clearly see, we need people around us. It's an opportunity and a time to reaffirm and recommit to not only a respect for diversity, but a demand for it. A demand that we continue to commit to an industry that welcomes men and women alike, that welcomes all to our table and boardroom, regardless of the color of their skin. And what we search for, all of the seemingly innocent evidence of unconscious or worse, conscious bias, and we need to work to eradicate it now and for all those who come behind us. Which leads me back to, and nothing comes for free. No one's going to just hand us this opportunity. Our industry and every AV professional has to recommit to technical competence, experiential awareness, and innovative entrepreneurship, and that celebration of diversity. We need to work at learning the technology that has become mission critical to the world. We need to be invested in the human interface, and we need to champion diversity of thought and background. We've all made a living at this since we learned how to spell AV, but we won't make our livings the same way tomorrow. We have to fully embrace these technologies that are being deployed and invented today and continue to marry those technologies with a commitment to the human experience that we all hunger for and need. I do promise you that AVIXA will still be there fighting in your corner, help you learn the skills you need, either from a class or from a peer, to help you share the innovations you've invented to a channel that can deploy them, to help you learn from others' mistakes and teach them of yours, whether it's in virtual rooms or classrooms, whether it's in ballrooms, and yes, it will be in convention centers. Thanks for the honor of opening AV Launch Week, Gary, with you, your team, with rAVe, and with Zoom.
Positive, uplifting message, but also you specifically pointed out to ways that our industry is making a big difference. And a couple of questions came in that I think if you have a couple of minutes to address, I think that they would be perfect for you to address. Number one, we've seen the commoditization of collaboration video, which is kind of ironic because our industry's been pushing video collaboration for 10 years. And what took us 10 years to do literally happened overnight because of an unfortunate virus. But that commoditization, logically to me, and to the person asking the question is going, this question was asked by a number of people, is logically, if you think about it, is going to bring an opportunity because everyone sees what you can do now and they're going to want to upgrade to bigger systems. And how do we, at this point in time, come out of, or do you have any suggestions of how to take us from what's now being perceived as commoditization to bring it up to the next level? Some ideas come to mind for me, training and education and understanding the difference in professional video versus consumer applications. But any ideas that you can share?
Yeah, I think I heard somebody I was on a phone call, or I was on a Zoom call with a group of CEOs that is actually a peer group of mine that I meet with, and we share learnings with each other. And we were talking about what we were going to do for our next quarterly meeting. And somebody made the comment, well, this is good enough for now. And I laughed. I'm like, well, that is at the core of my entire business, both my business model with regards to bringing people together in exhibitions, but also our industry overall. I think what we're experiencing now is good enough for now. But I think what this is doing is opening up the eyes of countless management teams around the world that, yes, we've been banging the drum for years, that you can have talent that is working remotely. You can save on telework, or you could offer teleworking and be able to save on physical space. But you have to What this is proving to us is that remote, um, from a distance perspective, cannot be remote from a collaboration perspective. And that problem hasn't been solved yet. And that's the problem we can solve. We bring that to bear with the innovations of our manufacturers. We bring that to bear with the application of all of those components into a system. That has to work. It has to work technically, seamlessly, and almost invisibly. And it has to deliver an experience that connects human beings. So it's not really a different message than we've been saying for a long time. If you want a good experience, you have to have great technology. You have to understand it. You have to have a great place, whether that's virtual or physical, to be able to have that in. And then you don't have good meetings if you don't have good dialogue and good content.
Yeah, and the way I see it also is that we are going to be sort of a launching pad for a lot of things that people are going to need. For example, they're using Zoom a lot now. If you look at the statistics, they went from 11 million daily video calls to 300 million daily video calls in a matter of just about a month. But there are people that want to use Teams. There are people that want to use WebEx, and they're going to want to place those calls together. They're going to want to marry those systems together, and that's the industry we come from. So I see great opportunity in collaboration, but also I see incredible opportunity in sort of differentiating yourself and sort of pivoting a little bit. And some of the areas I've seen companies pivot is things like healthcare. And a new product I saw from a company where it measures your temperature as you walk up to it, but it's also a digital sign, and adding technology like that. This is going to come from our industry. So although I read your by the way, the updates you're doing weekly are like a gift to the industry, telling us what's going on with COVID-19, the impact that it's had on the industry. So on behalf of the industry, I want to thank you for those updates that AVIXA is putting out. But at the same time, we see that I see that reversing and accelerating out of it just means that companies are going to have to pivot a little bit in the industries that they're focusing on. We see great increases in house of worship. In fact, we have record attendance numbers for our house of worship day on Thursday, collaboration, obviously, but also healthcare. Are those three areas that AVIXA is going to help us focus on as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think to your point, Gary, and I've said this before, I apologize if I've said it to you, but none of us is working for the same company we worked for 2 months ago. It may still have the same name. It may have the same address, but it's in a totally different marketplace. It's in a totally different world, and the assumptions that we made and build our business models on are different than they were before. So that doesn't mean the end of the world. What it means is an opportunity for a whole new place to compete and to deliver value. A lot of probably the first and hardest hit segment of our industry was the live events
Yeah.
segment of our industry, and people are concerned about, are we going to come back? Well, yes, we are going to come back together again. Those people that had been providing the ability to have an audio and visual experience in the physical live event are the exact same people that are poised to be able to extend that event out to a virtual audience. And that is going to be highly demanded. Um, the as one industry, that's the diversity of the AV industry is, and it comes back to every industry at its core is serving people. So in any industry that we need to connect one person to another person remotely, AV has a role. Um, these times are tough. There's no doubt. And yes, thank you very much for the compliments. The COVID updates are I think they're fantastic and they're very pointed. They actually are aggregating the information from AV members, and they're short and they're to the point. The what we know is times are really challenging right now, but there is nobody that's going to leave their home whenever they're allowed to without recognizing that AV is mission critical, and that's the solution we provide. So we need to get through this, but when we do, there's going to be an explosion across all the segments of our industry.
Yeah, one other area too I thought I'd mention is esports. I did a webinar on esports a couple weeks ago. It had over 1,000 attendees, and NASCAR is a good example. What they're doing every week, in case you didn't know, they're actually running the same races they would have raced in the cars virtually with the same drivers. In fact, a 22-year-old last weekend won the race last weekend, who was discovered as a virtual driver when he was 15 years old by Hendricks Motorsports, and now he's an actual NASCAR driver, and he won the e-race, the NASCAR e-race. They did a great job pivoting. And by the way, that entire thing is run by AV companies.
Exactly.
Just what you said. They're sitting that stream, and there's local viewers, there's the in-person viewers, and then there's those of us are watching at home. Dave, I want to thank you for this. This is an incredible session. We did have someone who asked if you would consider adding on your COVID-19 reports layoffs versus furloughs, because a lot of companies are starting to furlough versus layoff, and there's a differentiation there between the two, because furlough doesn't mean it doesn't have as tough of a meaning, and we think a lot of companies could be furlough. So if you could pass that message back, that came from a couple of people that had asked about that. But first off, I know you're really busy. You know, this is a crazy time, and for you to be willing to kick this off with our first keynote, it's an honor to have you, and I want to thank you for being here.
Thanks, Gary. Thanks for everything that you're doing for the industry and exploring this exciting platform. I'm looking forward to it.